Hey Clashers, the Graveyard and the Ram was nerfed 1.5 raid weekends ago, and the question now for today's video is, how strong is the Graveyard spell? Is it usable? Is it completely bad and no one should ever use it and touch it again? Well, I will answer this question in this video, and before we're jumping into some attacks, I wish everyone a really great start into the new year, into 2023. Hopefully it's going to be better than 2022. Now let's get ready with some action and find out how good the graveyard spell still is in Clash of Clans. Okay, we have a normal, barbarian camp layout, and we are going in with rocket loons and with the graveyard spell, but we are using air skeletons because the skeletons spawned are dependent on the troops which are going down, and since we're using rocket loons, obviously we have a ton of air skeletons. So what we're doing and why this is a really solid approach on this district is because there is just so much ground defenses in this district, which means we have a ton of bomb towers. We have, big surprise, we have giants, super giants on defense, so another ground targeting troop and ground targeting defense. So overall, this district is really way harder with ground compared to air, and that's why we're attacking this district with rocket loons, because rocket loons are probably one of the strongest, if not the strongest troop within the clan capital. It's pretty crazy how much value you can get, and I feel like the start is already pretty crazy. But what is even crazier is just the value of still the graveyard spell. And now I could try to push this back to the end of the video, but I don't even, I don't even want to do it because it should be obvious to everyone. The graveyard spell is still kind of strong. You could still maybe call it OP. I would not call it broken anymore, but it's definitely still OP, I think. So why is it still overpowered? Well, there were a couple of skeletons getting removed by like spawning them. But it's still pretty crazy. It's still crazy how much distraction you can generate with this spell, and especially what we have right now. The value this spell is providing in this second attack is insane, and is not being able to compare it to any of the other spells. Why do I say this? Well, the graveyard spell is always giving you value compared to the rage or to the heal spell. Most of the time, the value of that spell within the second attack is kind of limited, because at some point the area is cleared, so the troops are going to move on and not going to use the spell anymore. But wait, it's different with the graveyard spell. With the graveyard spell, the spawn troops can move wherever the spell is, which means it gives you in the second attack just such an insane power that even attacks like this can get so close. I mean, this were now 2 attacks on, I think it was a maxed out barbarian camp except the walls, but we don't care about walls anyways. But it was just insane. But now let's take a look at the skeletons overall, because we have a couple of them at the top, but as well a couple of them on the left side where they're just stacking up, taking down the giants. And actually, well, there's only one defense which can actually target them, and we have a lot of skeletons. So can they now carry us and get us this 3-star? This is the big question. Can they make it work? So is it going to be a 2 attack takedown of this district, or is it going to be a 3 attack? Let me know right now in the comments. What do you think? Well, let's now find out. So we have all of those air skeletons approaching this town hall. We have the town hall going down within seconds because there is just so many Larrys hanging on some loons trying to get towards the spear thrower. The spear thrower is just trying to pop loons left and right. And it's just not working. It's not enough. The loons are taking over. There is no air traps, it seems like, and this means it's going to be a nearly, I would say, fully maxed out barbarian camp district taken down in 2 attacks, which I'm kind of proud of, I have to admit. Since we have attacked now with air, we want to attack with the ground. Is the graveyard spell viable with the ground still? And we're starting things off with something which was nerfed twice, which means we have the graveyard in combination with the rams. The rams were nerfed and the graveyard as well. So how does this work? Well, let's just take a look at how this works, because this base unfortunately is not the perfect attack for this strategy because the walls are pretty much set up against this. You can see there is pretty much nearly a closed compartment, so it's really unpredictable where those battle rams are going. In the middle you can see they're just going straight and passing all of those walls, which means they're not providing too much tanking, and the value is not that great, to be honest. At the same time though, we were able to like clear out the top side, and what is even more important, do you see what I got with all of my with my entire approach? There's something which is really important. What is it? Huh? Do you know? Well, the important thing is we have gotten this cannon card because it's just ticking down, so it's going down to the next attack. We have taken care of this cannon card, and there was one more on the right side, which means by this time there is no defensive cannon cards left anymore, which means we can switch now to Hog Raiders. Hog Raiders are going in. We can use them to hopefully crush this base now in 2 attempts, which is always the one thing you're going for when you're taking the Wizard Valley. The Wizard Valley is just in maxed, okay, in maxed out, it can happen that you need 3 attacks for it, but it should be like the goal should be always two attacks. Again, on this one, we have the skeletons still providing value, and this is just the insane big difference between the graveyard spell and the heal or the rage. And this is why I'm still confused about this spell being only 2 spell slots, because it just feels like, just by design, it's always providing more value than the other spells, it feels. But maybe that's just me. I'm not saying that it should be changed to 3 housing space before people are getting angry at me. That's not what I'm saying, okay? But I still think it's OP. But now, let's talk about another thing, why I think one of the reasons why this district is not that good on defense. Let's take a look at this army of skeletons, and everyone should say, is this going to be a fail, right? Or is it? That's the big question, because it's a super wizard tower on defense. What does this mean? Super wizard towers have limited amount of targets, which means this entire army of skeletons is just going to overwhelm the wizard tower and now take down the spear thrower, and I take this district down again in 2 attacks. Yes, it was lucky again, but it was just the graveyard spell again. But let's try it again. Okay, so we have this time around Luca going in with the graveyard spell as well. Okay, the next thing which I'm confused about, to be honest, is why does the graveyard spell trigger traps? If I'm not completely mistaken, but in the home village, skeletons do not trigger traps, right? So why do skeletons trigger traps in the clan capital? I think this would be a huge game changer, because they would not trigger all of those traps inside the base already regarding the rams, regarding super wizards or hogs. Maybe that's a good idea to change it, and it would make more sense overall in the game mechanics? I don't know. Let me know what you think about that, but either way, we are going to take a look at what we have right now from Luca. I think the main reason why he's choosing those super wizards is because of the bounces of the chains of the town hall. I feel like that was the main reason why he has gone in with this approach. Right now, it's looking pretty solid. Like always, this 30 to 40% mark, which you're going for in the first attack. Obviously, you want to have like important defenses down, like not only like the outside trash buildings. But now, let's take a look at the second attack, because he is switching it up completely, which means he has started with ground and is now switching to air. And the main reason, I guess, is because he can like really nicely snipe out certain buildings. Now, using the lightning sighting at the bottom side, taking those out, and now sending in those rocket loons to take down every single building one by one. And he has now 6 graveyard spells. I always want to say skeleton spell, but he has now 6 graveyard spells, 6 of them generating skeletons, and that's kind of crazy. I mean, it's so many skeletons which are getting generated. At the same time, you can see why rocket loons are so crazy strong in the clan capital. Like not needing any spells ready to be powerful is such a strong thing. Like, it's such a strong important factor for them. And you can see on this one, it's not as close as mine attacks were, okay? I have to admit that. Luca is taking this district down way more confident. But even though, like, it's still somewhat close. But a nice 3-star for him. So, really good attacks by him. Really nicely done. Taking down another district in 2 attacks. And overall, our raid weekend over Christmas wasn't the best. We can talk about the ranking in just a second, because I think there's a huge problem in the ranking. Because right now, the majority of clans in the top ranks are not max clans. Now people could say, yeah, iTzu, but it's fine. Give them the fun or whatever. But always think about this. Free-to-play players, and that's totally fine. But if there's free-to-play players, they're not making, or like, they're not really spending all of the money because they're free-to-play, right? So there should be a reason why you want to upgrade. And if it's a disadvantage to be maxed or close to maxed, that's kind of bad. So if you take a look at the upgrades, 1,762, for example, over here, 1,757. So most of those top clans are non-maxed Capital Hall level 10 clans, which is a huge problem in the matchmaking and like how the trophy system works. So I really hope that Supercell is going to fix that after the the Christmas break, which they have. So that would be great. I think that would be a nice thing. It is what it is. That's how those long-term build-up strategy games work. If there is no reason to be maxed, that's not how that work. I mean, that's not how this game is going to survive. So yeah, that's just my opinion. Feel free to let me know your opinion know down below. I hope we can have a better offense. I mean, I don't want to say that we should be up there. As I already said in the last video, I don't think that we should be up there, but I know a couple of clans who are insane in clan capital and they're not at the top just because they're fully maxed or close to that. So yeah, it's kind of sad that it's a disadvantage, but either way, I hope you had a lot of fun watching this video. Graveyard spell for sure, really strong right now. Make sure to use it, and I hope I was able to show you a couple of different options on how to do so. Thank you so much, and as always, see you tomorrow in the new year. Have a good time. Until then, see ya, and bye-bye.